A coach is not an expert. I may not know anything about the industry you work in, but it doesn't mean I can't coach someone in that area because I'm coaching the person, not their industry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OQ podcast. Today, I'm going to discuss with you the journey of development and the immense amount of advice that we find every day. As a personal beneficiary and advocate of coaching, I'm proud to present the person that is responsible for introducing me to the world of coaching, Benita Smith.
Thank you, Amira.
Irrelevant of this podcast, and we've discussed this a bit before we started, the story of coaching, or how I actually came about coaching, was you introducing it as the first through the ICF for your first round when you were starting off in Oman back in 2014 and 15. So please introduce yourself. Let us know your association with all of those.
Okay, shall do. So I first came to Oman in 2008, actually. I didn't start with Takatuf till 2014, but I came in 2008, and that was an interesting journey because when I said coaching, people just looked at me cross-eyed, and it wasn't known here. So it was a journey from 2008 until 2015 when we started the International Coaching Federation Oman chapter. And that meant we need to have 20 members who had taken coach training. So it was a very exciting day in 2015 to launch the chapter. Coaching's been a passion of mine for a long, long time. I hope that everyone experiences it sometime in their lifetime.
Yes, definitely. So today, before we actually talk about the benefits of coaching, as I mentioned before, personally, I've pursued coaching for different parts of my life as personal development, life coaching regarding to health, a lot of help with or advice that I needed around just changing perspective, as well as career-related coaching. And in all of those experiences, as I've already discussed with you before, they were very, very, very transformative. And I actually advocate for coaching, so people to get coaching most of the time. But there is a lot of questions or misconceptions that whenever I have that conversation with people, they always come up to me with some misconceptions. So I'm just going to go through them with you as the ones that are more prevalent from my interactions. And I hope you can answer some of them, help me dispel some misconceptions.
Yes, we'd love to.
All right. So the first one, and usually related to any person who I ask them to pursue help in any way, they usually say, well, I'm not struggling, I'm doing very well, or I'm doing medium. I would pursue coaching if I was struggling with something. Is that accurate?
That's an interesting question because that's actually initially back in the late 80s, early 90s. That's how coaching started, was people who were poor performers. But interesting enough, it came down from royalty, and very wealthy people always had a personal advisor or personal coach. It was about in the early 80s, 90s that it went down into the corporate world, and it was saw as to improve someone's performance who is a poor performer. That didn't last very long until people discovered that wasn't really a good reason for coaching. And they discovered that it worked best with people who were wanting to do something different with their lives and their careers. And so that's when we saw the really big shift in coaching and when it really took off. When we switched from being, I have a problem, to I want to get better at something.
Definitely. I also had a colleague of mine, their perspective from coaching was, I have a mentor, I have someone that I trust and I can go to for advice for my career, and we have regular talks and I trust his opinion. How is that different from coaching? Would I benefit from, how is it different from a normal mentorship relationship? So maybe clarify on that as well.
So kudos to your colleague who has a mentor. I believe everyone should also have a mentor. I think the biggest difference that I can tell you between coaching and mentoring is a mentor is an expert in your field and gives you advice on your career, but it's limited to your career in that field. A coach is not an expert. I may not know anything about the industry you work in. I've coached in all different kinds of industries. I have a general knowledge about organizations, but I may not know about aerospace, or I may not know about coal mining, or I may not know about retail, but it doesn't mean I can't coach someone in that area because I'm coaching the person, not their industry. So the difference is the coach is not an expert. The coach is a curious partner in a person's development.
just to add to that point, because I personally benefit from mentorship relationships as well.
Excellent.
And I find it a bit different because I feel like your mentor as well may not share, or you may not be as transparent with your mentor, especially in my case, or it's someone I look up to, and maybe I don't want to be 100% transparent about how well I'm performing. But to be honest with myself, the real benefits of having a coach is not worrying about that judgment or an image of yourself being.
Yes, because for professional coaches, we see our people that we're coaching as being whole and resourceful already. So they don't need us. They're not coming to us because they need us, because we have any, brilliant expertise that we're going to share with them. We come into an equal partnership to explore development.
Perfect. I know people who want to pursue coaching, and their organizations have programs that support that as well.
Some.
Yeah, very, very rarely, but some. And a lot of them had trouble actually asking for coaching. So I've had a friend of mine who had a manager. She's asked or contacted the manager and said, "Hey, I heard we have coaching available. Can I access that resource, hopefully through the organization?" And he mentioned, do I not give you enough feedback? Or, I'll make sure that throughout our interactions, I'll give you more feedback if that's what you're looking for. And I genuinely didn't have an answer to give her. I usually do. But in the case that this happens, if someone's asking for coaching in that avenue, what is a good differentiation someone can tell that manager or direct line manager if they want to?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to say is say thank you to the manager. Because if they're mentoring you and giving you feedback, that's fabulous, because many don't. It's a tick box that they have to do it once a year, but they aren't interested otherwise. Sometimes they don't have the skills, and sometimes they don't have the time. So a coach is an unbiased partner who will help you develop in a broader sense, who does more listening. They're not an expert, so they're going to listen more than tell, and that you're ready for that kind of development.
Let's just jump into what can a person expect from a coaching experience?
A fabulous experience, my dear. Just fabulous. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, when I walked into it, I heard the words or the sentence, and this is something that's etched in my brain, but to achieve sustainable and desired change. And I remember listening to that and saying, sounds fantastic. Where do I sign up to receive that? So what does that, if broken down, what can someone expect from that experience if they sign up or find a coach? What do they expect from that interaction, basically?
So they can expect many things. It depends what they've come to coaching for, because people come for many different reasons. But we say to change. Well, that means different things to different people. So they can expect to have a focus on what they're trying to get to, and perhaps the obstacles that are in the way. And those obstacles can be thousands of different things. But the coach will listen intently, will reflect back to the coachee on what they're hearing, and then the coachee will reflect back on, oh, that's interesting, now what will I do with that? And it's always the coachee's decision. So the coach isn't the expert, the coach isn't telling the person what to do. It's kind of a different relationship. So you can expect complete independence from your coach. You can expect complete confidentiality, assuming you've hired a professional coach, because there's lots of people. Yes, there's lots of people who say they're coaches, but they have had no coach training and they don't belong to any body of coaching, and they haven't verified any of their work through a credential. So you can expect a relationship of partners who will explore, what does development mean to you? What is it that you're trying to change? What would you like to be better in your life or your work, or both? Because I don't think they're separate.
Yes.
We take ourselves to work, we take ourselves home. So it's still about us. So coaching is really a time when you have someone to listen intently, to just listening to you, then asking questions that will broaden your way of thinking and behaving.
A lot of advice we get from media, if you read any books on how to get better, all the words that you hear are just focus, push on, fight temptation, don't rest, forget about, your no other priorities, just focus on one thing. And you follow that long enough and you realize that it's not sustainable, and also that there are other people who are doing it a different way. They're just probably not writing books about it.
Yes. Well, but
maybe they do, but
I think if you look at people who who we would classify as truly successful, they do take care of themselves and they do talk about it. But the media doesn't like to cover that part, I'll say. The media, they have a different agenda.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We need that agenda also. But that agenda is not about self-care often. Although now, I must say today, we're hearing more of that now. The world is being forced into thinking about that, which I'm going to call that one of the blessings of COVID.
Yeah.
We can look at what all the negative things about it, but that to me is one of the blessings. People start thinking about, what are my priorities? What are my values? How am I taking care of myself and those I love?
The question basically that I might frame it a little bit differently is, because I read a lot about like coaches speaking about healing when it comes to personal issues before you even think about growth or development, or a lot of the things that are keeping you from real growth is you have issues you need to deal with, but it's not you're going to wake up tomorrow and they're going to be different.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess I'll just say that to me, it's drawing a line. There's issues that are something happened to you in the past and you can't get past it. So you're still living out there. So then you should see a psychotherapist, a counselor, someone who's trained in that area and can help you through that. That's one part of healing.
Yeah.
The other part, when I think of I'm in the present, although I know there's still something in the past that is stopping me from moving forward, but I'm not stuck there. I'm ready to have a look at it. And it's healing in the sense that, words are really, really powerful. And the word change, we really need to stop and think about, what does that word mean to me? And I think that's what your coach will work with you on. What does change mean to you? Does it mean something's being imposed on you? This is how because that's often what we see. Did we ask for COVID-19? No, it was imposed upon us, right? And every time there's a change imposed upon us, we have to change our behaviors. And, sometimes we get forced into it, but how do you think about that? Do I say, no, I have to run around wearing a mask because somebody else got sick? Well, you can look at change that way. Or you can also look at the far other extreme is we're healing the world. The world is sick right now. It's not just the people, it's the whole world, the planet, everything. And so we're contributing to healing. So do you see the word change? When you hear that word, what impact does it have on you? And exploring the impact of words is really fascinating in coaching. I say success to one person, they're like, yeah. I say success to another person, they go, no, I'm good. So, we have attachments. Yes. And it's exploring those. And are they valid for us today? How can I use them to move forward? And one of the things that I'm always surprised by is when we ask people, what would you like from coaching? Oh, I want to be happy. Well, what does happy mean? And then that's the moment.
Yeah.
It's when you have to think about what does that mean to me? Because it means something different to everybody. And it's giving yourself permission to have it mean something to you, for you to craft your own life, your own goals, your own career, your own work. You craft it. Now, are there outside influences? Absolutely, you need to consider them. But don't let them craft your life. You craft it.
Can you elaborate just how does it feel helping someone reach a goal or achieve something that they were working really hard to achieve?
Absolutely amazing. It is such a privilege if someone asks you to be their coach. It is an absolute honor and privilege. And keeping that at the core of the coaching is important. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And another thing I'm going to say is I still have a coach after 30 years because I find it to be such a good tool, such a good way to figure out what I'm doing, yes, why I'm doing it, and et cetera, et cetera. And having someone to reflect with is absolutely amazing. But at the same time, I'm responsible, which is something it took a while to get. But it is such, if you're the coach on the other end, such an honor and a privilege. We're very lucky people, us coaches. The other reason I think why the coaching works so well is that I absolutely hate it when I've said to my coach, I'm going to do this by the next time we meet, and I didn't do it. Oh man, busted.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, well, why didn't I do it? Am I just procrastinating? What's happening? Why did I? So it sends me into a reflection period, which again is very, very helpful because I need to craft that.
So yeah, last question. And this is something for anyone who's interested in actually getting coaching. Please give us some, resources, connections, points of reference. If I want to get a coach, how do I go about doing that?
First thing I'm going to say is make sure you work with a coach who has coach training. One of the biggest problems and my favorite bugaboo about coaching is people just, I think I'll be a coach. I'll just write coach behind my name and now I'm a coach and hire me. No, you need training. You need to go through the whole credentialing process. It takes time. So check that the person you're going to hire, check their credentials and check that those credentials are still valid, because sometimes people say, I took some coach training 10 years ago. I'm good. Well, and you've never used it since then. So it's always this checking, as you would with anything else.
Yes.
Right? I mean, if you really think about, would you get on an airplane with a pilot who took some pilot lessons, when they were a kid, and now they're going to fly,
in 1995.
Okay, but this coaching is also about you and your life and your career and your work. So handle it with care. Make sure that person has credentials. And there's places you can check. The International Coaching Federation, check their website. Check that person's credentials. It's coachingfederation.org. In Europe, there's a European Mentoring and Coaching Council, EMCC. If a person has an EMCC credential, check with the EMCC and make sure it's still valid and all of those things. So that's the most important thing. And then the other thing I would suggest is it's important that there's a chemistry between the coach and the coachee. So interview 2 or 3 coaches. Find out someone you're comfortable working with, because they'll be your biggest ally. And if it's someone you're not comfortable working with, don't do it. Do it. That person may challenge you. I'm not saying they won't. They may make you sometimes feel uncomfortable, but you're comfortable with the person. The chemistry, we call this chemistry sessions in coaching. And the coach gets to decide whether they'll take you as a client also. So, check the credentials, interview a couple of coaches and see what's fitting for you. See what's working.
Thank you so much, Benita, for all the valuable information, reflections, expectations. Thank you also for your time, for being here and, having this conversation with anyone in OQ who would like to go through this experience. Any last words? Any points of reference you want to keep?
Thank you for letting me talk about what I'm most passionate about. And thank you for being an advocate for coaching. And I encourage anyone who wants to explore it to go to International Coach Federation Oman and look for a local coach. We have lots of Omani coaches now, and I'm very excited about that. So have a look. Try it out. See how it works for you.
Thank you, everyone.